love you too.
Okay, I am here with Adam Jones and Alexandrea Meyer, and we're talking about Beautiful Friend, which just got released on Prime Video a few weeks ago. And I gotta tell you, this movie was insane, and I mean that in the best way possible. I mean, it felt like it was a character study, and it was just the way it was shot and everything, and just all the details were. It just made it such an interesting, intense movie.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for watching it and for reviewing it. We got released on the second, and the reviews have been mixed because it's such a divisive film. It's not everyone's cup of tea. So just
Yeah.
we appreciate you watching it and your very nice review. And yeah, it's cool just to have the opportunity to talk about these characters and making a film. And it's exciting.
So my first question is for
Yeah,
both of
thank you
you.
so much.
And what interested you in playing the characters that you play in the film?
Alex, you want to go first?
Okay. Well, for me, I think it was deeply rooted in the personal. I have an intimate connection to invisible female pain, more specifically, a history of being a survivor. And while my experiences don't come anywhere close to the level of trauma and severity of this particular story, it was one that I felt very passionate about telling and telling honestly. And I think when I was presented with the opportunity to play the part, to me, it wasn't a question of whether or not I wanted to do it. It was who would give Madison the most care and respect from an actress possible in a role that could easily be an oversight. So I really wanted to do that.
Okay. How about you, Adam?
For me, I mean, I remember for the audition, I just got 2 pages from the script. And there's so much of a lot of the film is voiceover, right? So it's a lot of monologues. And this was a chunk taken from maybe the beginning of the film when you kind of get a sense of who this guy is. And when I just read these 2 pages, I was just really intrigued. And I understood sides of the character in terms of like loneliness and isolation and depression because I myself have struggled so much with mental health in my own life. So like I was just really excited when I saw the audition for this role. And Truman and I hit it off. We were on the same page about the character, and it was important for me not to make it like a caricature, like a cartoon kind of presentation of someone who was struggling. And yeah, it was very important that it felt real and that I approached it with some empathy towards someone who is so deeply troubled and struggling with mental health. And so yeah, that's how I was kind of attracted to the project, and it was, it's manifestation too to find a role in a story like this that was so out there, but also very important, to share a perspective that is kind of overlooked in society. So I was excited, and yeah, I was very excited, even though it came with a lot of challenges for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that really struck me about the film was, your character Adam, where I like the fact that when you're going looking through, like you're peeking through the windshield and you're seeing all these people passing by, and you
Yeah,
give me your little things on, like you're wishing you were with this one, you're wishing you were this one's husband,
yeah,
and then there's that one part where you go outside to try to help the lady with the groceries or whatever she's coming out of, and
yeah, yeah,
it wasn't I didn't see that at first as an act of desperation. I saw it more like you were just looking out to help someone,
right.
but you just felt that rejection, and that's what triggered the feelings that you have. And I've read stories about people who've gone through that too, but unlike your character kidnaps someone to cure that loneliness. Someone, one I read was a YouTuber who felt the same sort of feelings but went out and committed murder. I mean, that was
Yeah,
one of the most, that's what struck me. I'm like, all the what will someone do to not be lonely? What what's that's what I felt what the film was about. How far will one go to cure that loneliness in their lives? And that's why I felt in a way like that character of yours, because it's like, he's not really a, like, he kind of may come off as a bad guy, but he's just not. He's desperate.
Right. And it's like he just fell down a really dark path, right? And it was unchecked mental illness, and he was alone. There was nobody there. He never sought treatment. And I think that story, which I think you're talking about, Elliot Rodger, who
Yeah.
the mass shooting, that was a huge um, inspiration for the character because he was kind of documenting couples out on the street and stuff like that. So while the story in the film isn't based on him, it was like a big inspiration for me as an actor. I wanted, because he's a real life person who shared the same similar beliefs, and also I was inspired just by like his kind of cadence and the way he spoke. And it was kind of almost, he was playing a character for the camera. He was like filming himself diary style. So yeah, that whole kind of element to it kind of made it even more real. Like this has happened before, and it's happening right now within that community. So I wanted it to feel real and not make it a mockery of any sort. It was important
Yeah.
that it felt genuine.
And then one other scene that struck me was the scene where you're in the desert with Alexandria, and there's the famous, I'm gonna call it love scene. I don't know what to call it exactly, but when you guys are in a van,
Rape scene would be the
rape.
correct word.
Yes, we're gonna say rape scene, but let's just put it this way: I couldn't help at times, but like kind of smirk because the way it was filmed, Adam, like, you look like you're breaking the fourth wall in parts of it. And then, in Alexandria, first you were obviously scared because of what you're going through, but then as when it goes on, it just seems like you're like, all right, just get this over with. I like you don't. It felt like the character was like, just I think out of fear, you're just like, all right, let's just get it over with, because you had that look on your face of saying, all right, let's just get it done and just move on. See what happens. But I think also, Alexandria, your character was quite interesting because as the film progresses, it seems like you start to connect with the other character in a way. Like, you start to talk to him and you start to understand some stuff. And it also, that brought a sense of ambiguity. It's like, is she doing this out of fear as a way to find a weak spot on him so you can try to escape? Or is it actual genuine feelings? Even though everything has happened, you start to understand that. And that's what I found very fascinating about your character, because it brought this sense of ambiguity, whether were your feelings for him real, or was it just a ploy to find a weak spot on him so you can try to get out of that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think leading up, we didn't have a lot of prep time, but in the 2 weeks, I think that it was that we did have, I did a significant amount of research on real life abductions and victims and mostly victims, to be honest, of similar abductions that actually occurred historically speaking. And from the people who did survive them, that watching their interviews or reading them if they were available in print. And what I learned is that, well, statistically speaking, almost everybody is going to be killed. And there's an awareness of that as a survivor or a victim in real time, that you're most likely going to die. So when you're presented with a situation like that in real life, it's interesting because a few viewers have critiqued the choices made by Madison in the movie, and ridiculed her for being painted as an idiot, which everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Who am I to say what is right and what is wrong? What I think is interesting is people are putting themselves in a place that they could never truly imagine unless they're in it, which is, what would I do if I thought I was going to die?
Yeah.
So I think some of Madison's actions are confused as her actually falling in love with him, or her starting to genuinely like him. And the truth is I mean, I have my own personal thoughts about what she's doing that may differ from other people's, but there's a strong, within 24 hours of being abducted, you are most likely going to develop a certain level of Stockholm syndrome. So she was with him, and I asked our director, how long were they together? Like, what is the duration of this really? And he told me it was about 2 weeks. So in that time, the amount of Stockholm is unprecedented. Her emotions would be all over the place. Most likely, she's given up on living. And in a single moment where there's maybe the opportunity to escape, she uses her own manipulation tactics as like a last ditch effort of, can I survive this? Which everyone gets to decide what happens at the ending, but we sort of know. And then the one other thing I wanted to say about the rape scene that I think is really important is, just for me, is the look of let's get this over with. To me, my personal opinion is it's actually the face of dissociation. Madison is completely left her own body. It is so traumatizing that she isn't even there anymore. So it's actually, there's no action other than disappearing. And it's almost as if you're floating above what is happening to you.
Yeah, and that's why I found it fascinating because you could that's what I like. I like this type of ambiguity in these type of movies, and and I will say I watched this with my 18-year-old daughter, and she's the one. She even said it flat
Mm-hmm.
out. She goes, "If they fall in love, I'm not going to be happy about this." She told me that flat out as we were watching it, and I'm like, so, but that's when I told her, like, I don't think that's the case. I could go one way or the other. I like,
Mm.
but the
Yeah.
question is, like, I think it's like I felt like it was in a way a choose your own adventure type scenario where you're gonna think for yourself, like give your personal, like as Alexandra said, give your personal opinion on what the character's thinking, their actions. So I think I agree. There's going to be critics who are going to say one thing happened, and there's going to be other. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it can go either road. There's no black or white in this case. It can go pretty much anything can happen, and that's what I felt with this film.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an anything can happen type of movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think reading, sorry, Adam, I don't know if you're about to start. I just wanted to say, I think sometimes reading reviews isn't mentally helpful, but in this scenario, it's actually very interesting because for me, what I am most intrigued by when we actually shot the film was, how is the audience going to receive this? It's controversial, it's divisive, it's inciting a lot of emotions. What is the audience going to focus on? And I think that that's really interesting to read about, is to see what people are missing, what people are craving, what they're drawn to. And I think it's actually ironically says a lot about humankind in its reception. It's sometimes enlightening, sometimes disheartening, but that's, I think, the objective of the film. I mean, we're the actors in it, but in terms of the final product, it it seems to incite reactions, and that is ultimately, I think, the goal of our director.
And I also felt that like as the film goes on, you could see Adam getting more racked with guilt. Like first he was all into it. All of a sudden, once you two start connecting, it's like then the guilt starts to sink in, and that's why I felt this was a character study on
Mm-hmm.
both parts because you get to see,
Yeah.
you get to see this guy go from dehumanization to finally realizing, you know, that he's becoming human and realizing, what am I doing here? Why did I do this? And that guilt starts to really rack his mind, and and I think in a way, even though it was Stockholm syndrome, or it could be whatever it was, it kind of helped trigger his realizing I screwed up, basically.
Yeah, and he's like justifying everything he's doing by how society has treated him, which is just bonkers. And it was interesting because he, like, even after the first assault scene between Madison and Daniel, like, he tries to open up about his family, and it's almost like he's making excuses for, you know, committing these awful acts towards another human being. And so So, but like, yeah, you're right. Towards the end, he kind of starts to wake up a little bit, and but still, is he's just so consumed by his madness that it just, you know, it's worse from there. It doesn't get better at all. So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think the film addresses like the dehumanization of violent people, violent if you want to call them bad, whatever word you choose. There's this common practice, especially in American media, to not try to understand the full picture, not to justify the actions, but they don't even want to understand them or to comprehend how did this person get from here to here. And if we understand all of that, perhaps we can prevent it happening to someone in the future. No, what they would rather do is turn this person into a monster or evil or even inhuman, which completely defeats the point, because then that will just continue and reverberate, and more people feel isolated and lonely, will feel more and more isolated and lonely. So I think this film does a good job at addressing that. However, I really do hope that people do not think this film justifies the actions of someone who is mentally ill, because
Absolutely,
that
and
is
I
not
totally agree.
our goal.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I don't want people thinking, it's okay for Daniel to do what he did. So and I'm glad that Tucker Cooley, the writer and director, brought that element of humanizing Daniel towards the end, where the guilt is coming in, and I did actually like the scene where Daniel starts to pour his heart out to you in a way, talking about his family and all that, because
Mhm.
I felt like in a way that's where you two start to have a common ground, even though it was, it's seen as Stockholm syndrome. And that's why people might think, oh, something's gonna happen between them, on a, like they're gonna fall in love or something. But I felt like you two resonate with each other. Like both characters have gone through hardships, and it may have taken something as drastic and as like this to realize that, but at the same time there was a level of respect between the two of you, and that's where I felt it came in.
yeah. And as actors, it was like extremely important that Alexandria and I we had this kind of connection and we were comfortable with one another, but we both were being so
Mhm.
vulnerable, right? We were like jumping off a cliff together, filming a lot of the troubling scenes and going down like this dark path together. So, yeah, it was like aside from just playing these characters as people, I mean, we filmed for like 2.5 weeks, and we uh we really had to like be on the same page and like make it work. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so happy that it was Alex playing Madison, because I can't even imagine anyone else playing this character. It just um, it just was so important that we had uh, clips. Mm,
I felt like the chemistry you two was the heart of the film, hands down, even though we know the situation of the film was. But I think it takes the chemistry of the two actors to work, to really bring a natural sense of that
yeah.
chemistry to work, and it did work. And that's how I felt between the two of you. The chemistry was amazing in this movie.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. You too, Adam.
Tried our best. We tried our best. We knew what we were
Yeah.
signing up for. We knew it was going to be. We knew not everyone was going to like it, but as like actors of this is our first movies, our first like feature film roles together, and
Mhm.
Truman's first film as well. Everyone's first project, so we all were like all or nothing. We have to go to 100% and just like go down this road together. So yeah, we were a team, a small team, but we all were passionate
Mhm.
about what we were
Yeah, and I mean, there's always gonna be mixed reviews. I like to watch films with an open mind, and just to and then take my own little guesses on what's gonna happen in the film, and and I'm always gonna support the little film that needs to be seen out there. The one that people
Mm.
should check out, and this, without a doubt, is one of those films that people definitely should check out. And
awesome.
not just for
Thank you
the
so much.
content, but as there's a message behind it. Let as Alexandria had pointed out, you know, anything is
Mm.
possible. Anyone can be humanized, and you know, it may take a moment of desperation away, but guilt, the guilt can come in, and that person could end up being human and decide on themselves, are they going to do the right thing, or what's going to, which path are they going to go down? That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like many humans are lonely, humans are also capable of extreme violence and evil. I mean, I think evil does originates with humankind, so it's very much ever present, and I think to deny its existence is dangerous. And also, I think more films should give space to people who don't have many platforms to talk or are silenced in general. So that goes for both Daniel, but also especially Madison, who did not talk much in this film. So maybe in a future film by somebody else, it will be from her perspective. Who knows? But
That would be
yeah.
so interesting as like a part two or something, like in actually perspective, but because it's all voiceover, right? So I was
Yeah.
expecting that a little bit. It's like, you know, you would just hear all of her thoughts. You
It would
don't want
definitely be interesting.
to
Yeah,
take
it would be. Definitely.
Yeah.
So with that said, is there some upcoming projects for you guys that you can talk about? Do you have any other new stuff in the works?
I
Go Adam.
I'm editing a documentary for an actor. His name is Dan Scribner, and he's been in the business for a long time. He recently beat cancer, and yeah, I'm producing it with Lance Lindahl, who's a director out here. And uh, yeah, that story resonates with me because he's been fighting for his dream for so long. He's worked on a bunch of independent feature films, and he's still doing it. He's still pursuing what he loves to do, and yeah, so it's kind of just a documentary capturing his story. Um, and as far as acting goes, I mean, this was my first role in something, and I'm reading for a couple things right now and just seeing what happens. I would love to film another movie and continue to like push myself and step outside my comfort zone and challenge myself to like go deeper and explore um, as much as I can because I learned so much from making a film about myself and like my own limitations, my own everything. So I hope to do that again. Collaborate with another director with a killer script, like something Truman wrote was just, it was something I've never came across. So I'm just hopefully can do some more interesting work and spark conversations and yeah, on moving.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, and after Beautiful Friend, I wrote, starred, and directed my first short film called Love You Forever, which is currently in the festival circuit now. And then it hasn't come to the US yet, but it's been all around Europe so far. And then now I'm developing a series with someone, not on the acting side, but on the writing, directing side, and actively looking for acting opportunities. Ironically, it seems to be the hardest thing for me to find. But I would love to act on another project that inspires me like this one, and I hope it comes soon.
And I personally, in my personal opinion, I hope to see you two collaborate together again, because if the chemistry was amazing and Beautiful Friend, I would love to see you two do another collaboration together, because I would be
We
all in
will.
on that one.
We will. It's happening. I'm gonna manifest it.
Yeah, we would love that.
A music video together shortly after wrapping. I think it
Hmm.
was the following year in 2023. And that
Yeah.
was called Medicine Man. And that would be amazing. We have to work together, Alex. Again.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Well, everyone, Beautiful Friend is now on Amazon Prime Video. Check this movie out. I mean, seriously, if you need a good thriller with an amazing message plus chemistry from two amazing leads, this is the film to check out. Adam, Alexandria, it's been a pleasure to talk to you about the film, and I cannot wait to see what's next from you guys. And I hope you guys keep in touch.
Thank you so much, man. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much.
All right,
Have
you
a good
guys stay
day.
awesome
Thank
as
you.
always.
Awesome. You too. Thank you.
Thanks. You too.